standing at the bait tank here at the Defiance Guadalupe 290. We've got a 115-gallon split tank. And I scooped down, I'm going to get a nice healthy looking sardine. Now here in Southern California, or some of the areas that have live sardine, there's a couple of different ways to hook a sardine. You'll notice I've got a short shank live bait owner hook. I'm going to pin the bait sideways. There's kind of a little clear spot right forward of the eyes and right behind the nostril. Kind of a little clear area. And it's not right between the eyes, but it's forward of the eyes and behind the nostrils. And it's kind of a thin spot. You hook it sideways like that. And remember now, when I'm holding the bait, I'm not holding the bait so tightly that all the scales end up in my hand. I'm going to get that bait in the water quickly while I'm getting ready to make the cast. You can see there that even though I'm not ready to make the cast, the bait is free to swim. I'm going to reel up now. I'm going to quickly make the cast. I'm going to make a lob cast. A lob cast is so I don't pull a face off the bait, and I can make it land nice and softly and swim off in the right direction. I'm immediately in free spool, and I want to let that bait swim as naturally in free spool as possible. Also, when drifting for tuna or yellowtail or anything else, you want to make sure that the wind is always in your face on the side that you're making your bait swim. If the wind is in your back, the boat is going to drift right over your bait. If the wind's in your face, you're going to drift away from where your bait is swimming out. So wind in your face, no angles, no tangles. You're going to have a lot better experience live bait fishing. Now what we don't do with a sardine in the areas where you do have sardines is collar hook them. But there's a lot of areas that you have a mix of sardines and anchovies, where you do want to have another technique. If you nose hook an anchovy, unless it's up through the bottom lip and up through the top of the head, an anchovy will die very, very quickly because it doesn't have a strong enough jaw to keep its mouth closed. So you want to make sure that you learn how to do a collar hook. Now this is a sardine, but if it were an anchovy, you come right behind the gill plate. Right behind the gill plate, there's a little hard bone collar right there. You stick it in right there, it comes out right behind there. It's not necessary with a sardine because a sardine can swim a lot stronger with a nose hook. The reason you want to use a nose hook on a sardine is because many times you'll get bit when you're reeling the sardine back in. That's not the case with a collar hooked bait. A collar hooked bait will fold over in half when it's being retrieved, and it just gives you another dimension to your live bait fishing. You only want to use a collar hook situation if you're fishing with live anchovies. Nose hook or belly hook for a sardine. Now this here is called a kelp cutter rig. What I've got is a little short 18 or 20 inch piece of fluorocarbon tied directly to the hook. I use a uni-to-uni, back-to-back uni-to-uni knot and go straight to our spectra. Now the advantage of this, fluorocarbon of course doesn't abrade really easily, but if I'm going to belly hook a sardine, that's the next thing we're going to talk about. If I'm going to belly hook a sardine, I take it and I hook it right behind the anal opening, put it in that little tough spot just forward of the fin. I've belly hooked a sardine now, which causes that sardine to swim down. Now, as I pitch out this particular bait in with a kelp cutter rig, it's going to naturally swim down towards the kelp, down through the stalks, down into the kelp forest. And this kelp cutter rig, if you do hook up with a big fish, will cut through some of those stalks and kelp leaves as you're trying to fight a fish towards the surface. Also, if you've got tuna or other fish that are hanging down in the 20, 30, 40, 50-foot water column, a belly hook sardine will sometimes get you a bite because they tend to swim down when they're hooked in the aft part of the belly there.